welcome back to another episode of Just Saying Wisdom. I'm Jenean Thompson, your IV preceptor. Today we're going to talk about the power of words, and again, of course, IV therapy is what I do, and it's all about inner voice, inner vision, and instilling value. And of course, that's my vision for this channel, is to instill value and to offer help and encouragement to you out there. And I want to welcome you and thank you for showing up and spending this time with me. It's always a pleasure. Today, I wanted to bring a scripture to mind, and we're going to talk a little bit about faith. And that scripture is Hebrews 11:1, and it says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen." Well, I want to talk about those two words in that phrase, substance and evidence. So if it's the substance of things hoped for, what is substance? Let's talk about that. The definition of substance is literally a material that is tangible. It is not something that is just ethereal. It's tangible material. If we have faith, then that means there is a substance of what we hope for. And it's already out there in a tangible form somewhere. And so it's going to come to us if we hold on to the hope and develop the faith. It also says the evidence of things not seen. Well, what is evidence? Evidence is material as well. Evidence is that which proves something else is true. And how do you have proof of something that you can't see? Well, that's all around us. It's in nature. It's everywhere. And so it is a really exciting thing to think that if we hope for something, we already have the substance for it, just in the hope. And we're going to find evidence of it manifesting very soon in our lives. Now, the key is to actually believe that it's going to happen. Belief, that's the key. Belief is the magic key to the door of all possibilities. And so how do you get to believe something, especially if you don't believe it? If we have a discouraging day or a discouraging life, say that we struggle to think positive and to act as if things are going to work out for us. Well, the reason it's so important for us to believe things are going to work out is because if we don't believe it, it never happens. And that's why we get stuck in these cycles of repetitive events that happen in our lives. And we start saying things like, things never work out for me, or I'm so unlucky, or whatever it is that we choose to believe, or that we believe because that's always the way it's been or seems to have been. We do have the power to change it. And that's exciting, exciting business. And that's the business that I hope to be in all my life. I'm going to share a couple of stories. One is the idea that you get into a rhythm or you believe something so intensely, it doesn't necessarily even have to be your world. I have a friend of mine who is so comical to watch him watch movies because he gets so involved in the movie that he's more fun to watch than the movie itself, because he takes every punch and he feels every emotion that comes in, and you can sit and watch it play out on his face and know what's going on in the movie just by watching him. And it's hilarious, but it's also a very true principle that we can immerse ourselves like he does in his movie into what we want. And when we get into that and when we can imagine it and feel it, then things happen. And I'm going to share a story with myself. I was in a position where I really didn't believe that I had many choices in my life. And one thing that I really desperately needed was a home. I was living in a pretty negative situation. It was really having an effect on me and my children, and I knew that I needed to leave, but I didn't believe that I could. I didn't believe that I had the resources or the or the courage even to do it. So I decided that, believe it or not, I was just going to say those words and use the affirmations of I have a house, I have a house, I have a house. So every day on my way to work, I would say that little chant, this affirmation that I had a house. Well, I wanted that home so desperately that I told myself, you know what? I don't care if it's a cracker box that I live in. As long as it's mine, I want that. And so for weeks, I went to work and I just would say those words over and over and over and over. I have a house. I have a house. And I can tell you the very spot on the road when suddenly I felt a shift. It stopped being words. It was knowledge. I knew that I had a house that I was going to be able to move into very, very soon. I still didn't know where it was or how it was going to come about, but I knew that there was a house for me and that I was going to be moving into it. When I shifted that saying into a belief, it happened. It literally did happen. One of the important things to learn in that story is that it was a cracker box. It was not a nice place. But it was mine. And I loved it. I loved it because it was my home, and I created a little home out of a cracker box. But I learned a lesson that if I'm going to think about myself into a home, and I did this in the future of that event, the next time I got a house, I was a lot more specific on what I wanted. And so and I got everything I wanted the second time that I had said I wanted. But I've also learned that it takes time sometimes for us to figure out what exactly it is we do want. So we go through processes. I had a home that was a cracker box, and then I had a nicer home. And then I moved to another place. And now I'm looking forward to even a better home. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's waiting out. It's out there for me. And so repetition is the key to belief. And if you don't believe something and you want to believe it, then you can believe it just simply by saying it over and over and over and over. Now, unfortunately, we can use this as a negative as well, because we do say things to ourselves over and over and over that are not true, or they become true because we believe them and we hold ourselves back. So we limit ourselves. And yes, there's a popular term out there called, get rid of your limiting beliefs. Well, how do you do that? It's through changing your words to something positive and saying those words over and over and over until your body incorporates them, until it becomes part of you, until you believe. And when you believe, you start to see, and you can manifest anything in your life. You can even change the way you think about the past. Now, that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. I want you to think about it this week and watch what you say. Catch your words this week. Catch what you're saying to yourself. And if it's negative, if you're saying, I just never win, I can't do that, or whatever it is, if you want that to be your reality, then keep on saying it. But if you want to change it, then switch it around. Change those words and start saying them over and over and over. I listened to Tony Robbins one day, and he said, you can't just use words. You can't just say, I have a garden with no weeds. I have no weeds. There's no weeds. There's no weeds. You've got to actually get out there and do something. Sometimes that's true, and sometimes you can't really do much about it. Say your health is bad or whatever reasons come up, you can still say, I have a garden without weeds. And if you say it often enough, things will transpire to where, a neighbor will come in and offer to weed the garden, or something will happen. So never limit yourself and think, well, I can't even say the words because I'm in this situation. You can say the words and you can make a difference. And I know that you can practice these things, and I hope that you will. And I hope that you'll share your stories because I know you have them. I know you do. And we all have stories and we can learn from each other and we can buoy each other up and we can share. And so I'm looking forward to hearing those stories. And I am looking forward to all of the future things that you're going to share because that's what we're here for, is to lift each other up. I hope you'll like, I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope that you'll hit the bell, do all the YouTube stuff that gets support to this channel and helps it grow. I thank you again for being here, and I look forward to next week. So take care until I see you again.